This video has spoilers about the ending contents of Mario and Luigi Brothership. Here is your 5-second warning.
Okay, time's up.
Mario games across all the games have been known for their very colorful and happy nature. Even when taking down Bowser or other notable baddies, it's usually portrayed in a very light-hearted or goofy manner. But sometimes that's not good enough for me. Seeing pain and suffering of other characters can be fun too.
I find your discomfort amusing.
I'm especially keen on tragic characters, because if done well enough, they can add a lot more substance to a story. Mario RPGs have done this before, with some notable ones being Peach, well, in general, Luigi from Super Paper Mario, or Olivia from Origami King. They're not the most crazy developed characters in the world, but I still appreciate when that extra substance is added to a series that originated as just jumping and throwing fireballs. Brothership is no exception to this. After completing this game, I was quite satisfied with the story it was trying to tell over the course of the Mario Bros. Journey to save Concordia. Even though it wasn't my all-time favorite Mario story out there, it did a really solid job at exploring the interpersonal relationships between all the characters of Concordia and the Mushroom Kingdom alike. Some may feel like it can be corny at times because there's a lot of power of friendship moments going on in this game, but it's more than that, guys. It's also the power of love. I'm not gonna lie, I couldn't care less about these two. But more importantly, the power of brothership. Boo! With Brothership having a character that easily suffered more than any other character, old or new, in this game. That character being Cozette, or more commonly known throughout the story as Master Zokket. This was the first time a Mario and Luigi game had a twist villain that was originally a good person, then randomly turned evil, and by the time the Mario Bros. And Snoutlet find out the truth, they can't help but wonder how this could have happened, even if it was against Cozette's will. Depending on the person playing, this twist could have been seen as predictable, and in my personal playthrough, I had a pretty good hunch that she and Zokket were the same person before it was properly revealed by the Great Conductor. The two of them had very similar body shapes, were about the same height in the overworld. There would be certain cutscenes where the game would blatantly zoom in on Connie or Zokket at the end of an interaction, and the game would hammer in the fact about how Cozette just mysteriously vanished around the time Concordia split apart, with not a single person knowing what happened to her. Throughout the game's main story, we're given glimpses into how Cozette was as a person. Cozette was Connie's Watanist mentor. She was considered by many as the best Watanist in all of Concordia, valuing the concept of connections and bonds between others so much, maybe even more than the Great Conductor himself. As a result of this moral code, she took her job as a Watanist very seriously, always making sure Concordia's Uni-Tree, the tree responsible for holding all of Concordia together, was properly attended to at all times. But obviously, nobody lives forever, so she would take on Connie as her Watanist apprentice, teaching her how to be the best Watanist she can be, and in turn forming a very close bond with Connie thanks to all this time they were spending together. However, one fateful day would change everything. Cozette would go to Concordia's Gulch Rock Sea Great Lighthouse alone and stumble upon a malevolent dark egg. This egg belonging to Reclusa, an ancient demonic being with the power to control a substance called gloam, which can enhance the negative emotions of people to an unhealthy degree. Reclusa would take advantage of this moment to brainwash Cozette, transforming her into the cold-hearted Zokket, where he would not only destroy the original Uni-Tree that caused Concordia to break apart, but began to gather as much gloam as possible in order to properly revive Reclusa to full power. Wait a second. In-game, Cozette goes by she, her, and Zokket goes by he, him. Oh dear god. Woke Nintendo strikes again. I didn't realize I was playing Mario and Luigi Woke Ship. Zokket as a villain was the complete opposite of Cozette, going from someone who valued bonds greatly to one who wanted nothing more than to destroy them, believing the world should live in as much solitude as possible. He was probably one of, if not the most intense, no-nonsense Mario and Luigi villain we've gotten so far. The two Princess Shrews were pretty scary at times, but it was one of those things where the younger one had a bit of a chaotic childness to her personality, while the older one didn't have nearly enough screen time to invoke the same consistent menacing presence that Zokket had during the first 30 or so hours of this game. And then there was Fawful, who was obviously a bit of a goof since Superstar Saga, and Tasma was scary looking, but the way he talked like an old-timey vampire added a sense of goofiness to him too. All Zokket cared about was the gloam plan moving forward so Reclusa would be revived as soon as humanly possible. This wire cutter whack job was all business all the time, not even caring to remember the individual names of his loyal minions, the Extension Corps, or Mario and Luigi's names. A gag that I can't really tell if it was meant to actually be funny every single time, or if it was simply foreshadowing that Zokket was a brainwashed puppet who couldn't even remember the names of those around him, just like how he couldn't remember his true identity. It was probably for the comedic factor, to be honest. That one time when he called Mario and Luigi Marco and Luisa was kind of funny, I guess. My main gripe with Zokket is I wish we could have seen him doing more throughout the story, like the game showing him having actual conversations with Reclusa's egg, instead of just staring at the egg, being like, "It's nearly time," over and over. This would have given a better setup for Reclusa as the final big bad as well. Zokket did get his hands dirty a bit once you got to his fortress, specifically using the 4 great lighthouses to shoot Bowser with a Gloam Ray, and intended to use it on the Mario Bros once Bowser was defeated. It was honestly kind of shocking when the Bros had to retreat during this sequence. While I can see why some would feel like they wanted the game to just end already, I like the idea of how even after everything, the brothers were still a bit out of their element here against a weapon this powerful. It felt necessary for me to go over the dirty deeds of Zokket to highlight just how much Cozette had been screwed over. The idea of a good person being possessed by a darker force in a Mario game has been done before, most notably with Peach in Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door and Luigi in Super Paper Mario, but the reason Cozette's brainwashing felt more impactful than those two, at least for me, was the game went out of its way to show us the kind of person Cozette is and how much she cared about her land. Then one day of bad luck forced her into partaking in vicious acts that went against everything she stood for. Acts so severe that they jeopardized all the land of Concordia and by extension other Mushroom Kingdom residents that found themselves transported here. While I do think the story could have done a better job showing Zokket's personal activity throughout the story as opposed to mostly showing what his followers are doing, we still saw this grand plan slowly unfold. Compare that to Peach and Luigi's situations where these two were not involved in the grand schemes of these darker forces since the beginning. Well, Peach kinda was, but she wasn't brainwashed from the beginning, only being forced to do their biddings at the very end of those respective games. Luigi's situation was definitely worse than Peach's, I think, since Super Dementia was able to completely destroy some of the worlds before he was defeated and Luigi was freed. Mr. L was a thing too, but was simply a minion of Count Bleck that didn't get a whole lot done before turning back to Luigi. Point is, there wasn't as much gradual build-up or hands-on working being done with Peach or Luigi as there was with Cozette/Zokket. And that's something that added more to this character's tragic little arc for me. Connie in particular would never lose hope over the idea that her mentor would once again show up. Even when she believed Mario and Luigi had been defeated by Zokket's Gloam Ray, Cozette's whole predicament by extension did a lot for Connie's character too. Some of the other brothership relationships were pretty surface level when it came to the interactions. The two lovers, Chilliam and Bernadette, or Bowser Jr. and his buddy friend, for example. The married couple just loved each other for reasons. As far as I'm aware, we never really learned how they met or what exactly made them such a good match. They just didn't really do anything for me. Buddy and Junior at least had a little flashback montage of when they, initially became friends, so that's at least better than nothing. Connie, on the other hand, was actively helping restore the Great Lighthouses to the new Uni Tree that she also cultivated on Shipshape Island. Despite Cozette being MIA, Connie continued to carry on her mentor's will and served as a key component to restoring Concordia. When the time came for Zokket to finally be dealt with, the Mario Bros would of course be victorious. That fight was surprisingly tough for me as well. That triangle wave attack in particular was absolutely wrecking me. In hindsight, I probably could have just put on the easy counters plug or emergency guarded more, but I have an ego and was hoping I'd be able to get it perfectly at some point. Unfortunately, it failed. Now with Cozette finally being freed from her gloamed brainwashing prison, it was still too late. The amount of gloam she gathered as Zokket was enough for Reclusa to come back to life. Reclusa would then pull a Mamoru Uchiha, as one does, using gloam-infested plants to trap the majority of Concordia's citizens in their own little dream worlds, where they can live happily and not have to interact with any real people for the rest of their lives. The weakened Cozette would return to Shipshape Island with Mario and Luigi to rest a bit, revealing to Connie how she caused all of this and feels incredibly guilty over it, despite being brainwashed the whole time. One other small gripe I have was how Mario, Luigi, or Snoutlet never told Connie about Cozette and Zokket being the same person after returning from Great Conductor Island. Feels like that would have been, useful information she deserved to know. Like, there was missed potential for another important moment for Connie. The game just straight up didn't acknowledge this. I think it would have been less strange if, at the very least, Snoutlet tried cutting Mario and Luigi off from telling her to spare her the pain of knowing or something. By the time Cozette's wounds healed, the time she was forced to spend as Zokket still nagged away at her. So much so that she decided to make a very big decision. She left Shipshape Island by herself where Mario and Luigi would find her at the Goldrock Lighthouse, the same place she found Reclusa's egg, telling the bros she wanted to atone for the sins she committed by going to confront Reclusa alone, feeling like this would be the best and only way to make up for all the destruction she caused as Zokket. Mario and Luigi are obviously skeptical because, Reclusa's broken, but Cozette is insistent on doing this, making sure Connie doesn't even know about it. Connie eventually finds out anyway because duh. But it's very admirable for Cozette to want to do this, this, it's quite a gray area with her. Like, yeah, she was being controlled, but at the end of the day, it was still her body making the motions for this plan. It's only natural she'd feel at least somewhat responsible for everything going on. By the time Mario and Luigi collect the necessary bonds to infiltrate Recluse's domain, they and Connie find Cozette laying on the ground inside the base. Having failed to defeat Reclusa, Connie stays behind for the time being to watch after her mentor. And once the bros are able to defeat Reclusa with the power of bonds, his beloved Solitary begins to collapse, forcing the bros, Connie, and Cozette to haul ass out of there. Cozette is still a bit injured after trying to deal with Reclusa, so Luigi takes it upon himself to make sure she makes it out in time. The four of them start free falling from the top, so to slow the fall, all four of them interlock hands to use the last of their bond power one last time to ensure their safety. With Concordia now saved and the Mushroom Kingdom residents back home, Cozette would last be seen on Twisty Island as a tour guide for young kids, potentially ones that desire to become Watness like she and Connie. Cozette's whole arc was one of my favorite parts about Brothership's story, and I wish it could have been expanded on a little further. Maybe that's asking a bit too much for a Mario game, but Brothership's story as a whole had a solid premise and good groundwork. It just needed to iron out some kinks here and there. Like doing a bit more of showing these characters doing things as opposed to them settling for mostly exposition for most of these scenarios. But even then, I'd still probably be bored with these two. Yes, I will continue hating on Young Love, that is correct. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Cozette's character journey, or who your favorite new character was in Brothership. I'd love to know your thoughts. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't be a stranger to leaving a like down below and subscribing for more content like this in the future. But for now, I will see you guys next time. Peace out, take care, bye-bye.